Would Pat, would you take a roll call?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay. Gamka, Stauffer,
Here.
Winchester,
Here.
Cullis, Scheibsnyder,
Here.
Chief Lentz.
Here.
So we don't have Gamka or Cullis yet. I don't see.
I just tried calling George and there was no answer.
Okay, let's move on. That does establish a quorum. We need a majority to have a quorum. So there are 3 plus the ex officio. So I think we're fine to move forward with the meeting. Do you agree, Karen?
Yeah.
I
Okay.
see Gamka's name now.
Oh, I
Also.
do too.
Paul, are you there?
He called me. He was having a hard time getting on. He didn't have a Zoom downloaded. I thought he just had to, follow the link. So
Okay, let's move on. We have the consent agenda, which has the approval for the proposed agenda for today. Are there any modifications to the agenda that anyone wants to make?
I would move to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Okay, if I may, I would like to do 3 things actually. I would like to move the reports section up between number 3 and number 4, so just before number 4. It is a more natural progression that's used in Robert's Rules of Orders to have the reports come out first up at the top. So to move it to, it would become the new item 3 or 3A, I guess it would be. I think that it's important, just from a terminology standpoint, that the old continuing business should be called unfinished business. So that's just a strike and change that word. And then under new business, I want to add an item D, which is an employee issue that I would like to add to the agenda. Is there any commentary on any of those changes?
Mr. Stauffer, is that something the report section you want moved permanently on the agenda for now on into that area?
I do. I think it's for 2 reasons. It's kind of just a standard place that reports go according to Robert's Rules of Order, so that they're presented before we have the rest of our discussions, so we have that information available to us.
Okay.
But secondly, another change that I'd like to do here, and I'm not calling on it for today, Chief, and that is that when we have these reports, we are aware of who's going to report beforehand. And so we only include those people that have a report on the agenda.
Okay, you lost me there.
Yeah, me too.
So beforehand, if you have a report, Chief, we'll put you into the section. Karen, if you have a report either for Holly Township or for the clerk from Holly Township, we'll put you into the section. So just it's beforehand so that the reports don't become reactions to things that are happening. They're truly reports on the status of things. So we know that they're coming beforehand.
Oh, every board I've ever been on has never done that. I don't know if we would necessarily be prepared and should be able to report on things that are immediate, I think.
I appreciate that. So I'm not asking for a written version of your thing. It's just beforehand, if you're going to have a report, just say yes, and we'll put you on as an agenda item as having a report.
Mm.
The other thing I would like to change, Chief, is until things change, mine will be the chairman's report.
Okay, so for the new
Well,
report,
can I think that all these changes to the agenda should be an agenda item and should be done by the board as a whole. Not just by, just because. I think we should have, rules, maybe rules set out now if you, like with the reports and stuff.
I love that idea. Karen, are you volunteering to set up a committee to set up some standing rules?
I guess I can. I don't really believe in committees personally. I think that everybody should weigh in. So I don't like committees usually. I think that all the board members should have equal say and equal input at the same time.
Yeah, so that's a no. Does anyone want to take it up as an agenda item here?
For a future agenda? Or put it on the agenda now for discussion?
Either.
I think we can move it around as Peter's requesting, but I agree. It should either be now or future agenda. I prefer future so that maybe we can come back with some opinions, and that way maybe we don't even have to get a committee at that point. We could decide then when we have time to think about it.
Okay, I like that, and I would be more than happy to submit a proposal for some rules. The rules sit below the bylaws, and as long as we're not breaking any bylaws with our rules, we can, as a group, decide on anything we want. So I will submit that for an agenda item at the next meeting. Okay. Any other commentary about these changes? So Karen, you're willing to accept the changes that I proposed here for today?
Yep, I would move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
I have a change as well,
Oh,
or a correction to the minutes. So page 2, move the bottom of the page, the motion by Stauffer, second by Gamka, motion carried to appoint Ms. Karen Winchester as secretary of the NOCFA board. Voting yes, we have Stauffer, Gamka, Winchester, Gamka, and Cullis. We need to remove Gamka once and insert Scheib-Snyder.
Good catch.
mm-hmm. And yep, I almost forgot about mine too. In Holly Townships, well, George isn't here, so I don't know. He can't answer. It stated that Holly Township Board will be getting a presentation tomorrow night regarding development of the homestead. I'm not sure what that meant. So I guess it can go as is since he's not here, but I didn't know what that meant.
You want me to explain or?
Do you remember?
It was that you were going to have a presentation regarding ongoing with your homestead out on North Holly Road.
Oh, the so
Farm.
maybe we could put it as thank you, the farmstead. Not homesteads, called farmstead. That would identify.
Wrong word.
Okay, so if you could just change that, that would be great.
I will.
Do we have a motion to accept the minutes and agenda on the consent agenda here? As
So
amended?
moved.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Support.
Can we do a roll call, please, Pat?
Mm-hmm. Winchester,
Yes.
Scheib-Snyder,
Yes.
Stauffer,
Yes.
Gamka,
Yes.
and is Cullis here yet?
I don't see him.
All right.
Okay. The motion passes. Let's move on to what would now be reports. Chief?
There we go. In your agenda packet was the run calls for January last month. We had 101 calls, 73 of them medicals. We did 51 transports and 20 patient sign-offs, and we had 88 total runs in the fire district and 13 out of district. Any questions on the runs? The only other thing I have right now is that we, through Consumers Energy, retrofitted all of the lights at Station 1 with LEDs. And then we also replaced all of the light fixtures in the apparatus bay with LED fixtures. All of that with the labor was around $2,000. So it was a very good price, and it will hopefully save us some utility bills. I looked at doing it to Station 3, but Station 3's electrical service is provided by DTE, and they don't have a similar program as of yet that I've found. So that's all.
That's the entire report.
Did you want me to go through like I normally do with my officer staff at this point, or?
You may, if you'd like. I think going forward, I'd like the reports to come from members of the board. And if your officers have special things, we'll bring them in to presentations as a very separate thing. But since we haven't actually discussed that, yeah, go.
Well, I'll just go through the ranks. Chief Weil,
Nothing.
Chief Smith,
Just an update on the fire protection well, Belford and Fish Lake. After many months of delay, Consumers Power has set a pole, put a transformer, and run the line to the well. So once we get a little bit better weather, we can do the performance test on it. That's it.
Captain Seal,
Nothing.
I think that is all.
Okay, thank you for that. Rose Township, do you have anything to report?
I don't.
Well, we
Some
went
of the
and,
discussion we have is actually on the agenda, so I'll just wait.
okay.
I'm sorry, Paul.
Okay, Paul?
Well, I was going to say that we did pass the amended Articles of Incorporation on February 10th. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, because it's on the agenda actually, but yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay, Holly Township?
I don't have any report.
Okay, and no George yet?
No.
Okay. Chairman's report, I was planning to read you a chapter out of the Robert's Rules of Order book, and then decided it's probably much more advantageous just to speak to why it's important, especially in the state that we're in right now. The whole purpose of Robert's Rules of Order is to run a democratic process, to certainly to go in the direction of the majority, but to make sure that the minority is heard, listened to, they have a chance to speak. And depending on the size of the group, you can go to a relaxed Robert's Rules of Order, which I hope that we can achieve. And I know watching Holly's trustees meetings, it is a relaxed and it is well run, and so it's something we can do over time. I am probably going to be fairly strict early on, just so that we establish some things. So for instance, when we have a motion, I'm going to request that the person who made the motion is the first to speak. That's a fairly standard rule. I'm going to ask that before you speak on a motion, you give a clear indication of whether you're speaking for or against the motion. That way we can balance the opinions of, someone speaks for it, someone speaks against it. We'll make sure that we get through the entire 5 or 6 of us before someone speaks for a second time. I will enforce the not interrupting each other, allowing people to speak, finish their thoughts to some extent, and I was a participant in all of it. We need to take a step back and follow some decorum in some of these things. And I'm hoping that we can establish that through some procedures that we have here. I'm not going to take it to the ultimate step, which is we refer to each other by title so that it never gets personal, and you must refer to me as Mr. Chairman and all that stuff. And I think that's a bit over the top. And so I hope that the board realizes that the attempt to use Robert's Rules of Order as our method of running it is an attempt to have a fair democratic process where all voices are listened to and we have good, open, fair debates about those things. So that is the chairman's report. Are there any, there are no presentations? Okay. Unfinished business. Just as a note, I'm actually struggling with this one because unfinished business is supposed to be items that motions that are open, that were tabled, that are left over from the other things that haven't closed. This one is particularly interesting because we finished our business on this, and we're now in a position where we've sent it out for votes. And I tried to get an opinion from David Laddie as to exactly how to deal with this, and how to reopen it or do whatever we need to do with it, and wasn't able to get a good vision on it. So I guess what I'd like is to start by asking Holly Township the result of your attempt to get a vote on this.
Great. Well, I want to first comment on why it's still on the agenda. I would imagine that it would be because although it did go out for a vote, we were waiting for that item to be finished and come back to the fire board. So it was still old business. The Holly Township, I made my presentation. I still felt that we should have all met at that point. George made his presentation and felt that it was more appropriate for the process to take place between the two boards. And then we could decide from there how we're going to manage, going forward. Holly Township did deny the amendments and wanted it to go back to the fire board to reconsider adding language that they feel is important.
So Karen, was there a motion to request specific wording, or was it just wording coming from the discussion?
Yeah, there wasn't specific wording that we discussed as a board. I think that was all just in general. So then it would be up to us, George or I, to represent that to the board.
Okay. And Rose Township, what's the result of your vote?
Last week, we had a motion to approve the changes as presented. We had a 4-to-1 motion that carried. I told that I reported to the board that the changes were okayed by the NOCFA attorney, and that this had been on the NOCFA agenda for several months. I'm actually reading from my meeting notes. I let them know that the citizen at large, Pete Stauffer, was the one who noticed the address, and some other typos were necessary to update the article. My board wanted to know what happened with the joint meeting. I had emailed the supervisors with Holly Township with the dates that our board was available to meet with their board, and I did not receive a response. And so we did have a motion to approve the changes to the article of incorporations, and it did carry. Glenn Noble asked me to let you know that he is 100% behind the changes that were presented. That's Trustee Noble.
So our bylaws are not giving us any guidance on how we should move forward. They merely state that we as a board have to approve the changes and get approvals from both townships. The fact that we're sitting in a position where one township has rejected it and one township has passed it, I think we have to go down a path that says that effort is dead. I am willing to entertain a motion from somebody as to how we should proceed. Short of a motion to proceed, could happen in the future as well. We have to revert to our existing bylaws, not revert, continue with our existing bylaws, and that's the bylaws that we'll operate under. And
Right. I think one of the things that I requested in the articles was to have a conflict resolution. I think under the circumstances, there was, several things that I don't think were allowed to be discussed. And Peter, I'm hoping that with your statement about you wanting a fair, an open meeting and the way that you want to handle it as far as Robert's rules, I'm hoping that we can come to an agreement. I think that we have some very valid things that we want in there, and I don't think that anybody really gave much concern or thought to those things. So I really think the board needs to relook at these.
One of the things that really jumped out at me is that it's fairly valuable to have a motion sitting in front of the group before we have discussion on it. Otherwise, we will talk in circles for a long time because we're not actually discussing a specific topic. So I agree with what you say, and I do commit to you that I will make this as democratic and open as possible.
And respectful.
Would you like? Well, we'll start with, let me finish. Would you like to make a motion about changing the bylaws? Do we want to put that back on the table?
I would make a motion that the NOCFA board, I'm trying to think of the word.
Amend.
Yeah. Further amend the articles of incorporation to include some of the things that Holly Township was concerned about, or at least, yeah, I know that's not exactly the way that I wanted to say that, but.
So what do you want it to say?
I don't know. So let's just cancel that one. So I would move to have the NOCFA board readdress the articles of incorporation.
Is there a second for that?
Can I add to that motion?
Nope, not yet.
Okay, so no, I do not support.
If there is support for that, then we can have a discussion. You can amend it. You can do all sorts of fun things with it.
Okay.
If there's no support for it, then we don't take the time and we move on to the next subject matter. George, where are you when we need you?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? The motion's on the table, so, oh, well, I would request support only so that we can have some discussion about it. Diane, without you making a motion to support, you're not going to get your comments out there. I'm just saying.
I'm sorry.
Doesn't mean you have to vote on it.
Just for clarification, seconding something or supporting something just means that you think it's worthy of us having a discussion about in a debate. It doesn't
Thank you.
mean that you're in favor of it. But
Exactly.
conversely, actually making the motion also doesn't mean you're actually in favor of it. So
Right.
you're just suggesting that it's worthy of debate.
Correct.
And so if I don't hear a second, we'll move on to the next. And in no way does this stop us from bringing it up in the next meeting.
All right, let's go ahead. I'll support.
Thank
I
you for
have
that.
a question to make.
Mhm.
Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Or this would be an opportunity to amend it if you would like to, Diane.
Oh, this is my opportunity. Great. So when I did present this to my board, because I hear a lot of the split vote comments, and the board was informed that it was a 4-to-1 vote to send it to the townships for their approval, or not approval. It was a 4-to-1 vote. If we were to revisit the article of incorporation changes, I would add to the motion that motions and language that we already voted on could not be discussed further. If there's things they want to add that we haven't discussed, then that's different. But I would make a motion that things that this board has already voted on is not discussed and able to be revisited.
Karen, you made the original motion. Can we?
I'm not going to, I won't agree with that amendment. I think the whole thing was handled terribly wrong. I was the chair at the time. Maybe I wasn't a good enough chair to manage that situation. But I think that there was a lot of anger and a lot of power plays. And I think that we're hurting this authority by the things that were going on. And if we're going to repair this, we need to talk about everything, including those things, regardless of whether they're passed or not.
Diane, would you like to make an amendment?
No, I wouldn't. I don't want to revisit things. I mean, we follow Robert Rules of Order.
No, we didn't.
Motions, some carry and some don't carry. A majority rules in a vote. I don't want to revisit on this board everything that because people felt that it didn't go their way. That's not how it works.
Diane, it's not.
And I don't.
I've been doing this 22 years.
Karen, we're going to
And
start
I
with
don't feel
civility
like
here.
Okay.
I don't feel that any of this is hurting the authority either. Like I said, my board was very happy with the language that was presented in the chat.
Okay, so we have a motion that's been put forward by Karen, seconded by Diane. Karen has spoken in favor of it. Diane has spoken against it. Does anyone else speak in favor of the motion? Chief or Paul? Either of you have comments in favor of the motion?
I do not. I'm not a voting member.
But you're a discussion member.
Oh,
You're absolutely part of the debate. An ex-official member of the board with no voting rights.
I believe that if we do nothing on this topic, that it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to be dead in the water of all the work that we have put in it thus far. So my opinion is that it needs to come back to the board to some extent to at least restart the discussion and negotiations on things.
Paul, are you in favor or not in favor of this?
I'm not in favor of it. I agree. We've already discussed it, and I don't think that when we have votes that we should that someone doesn't go the way they want to, that we bring it back 6 months or 3 months. We'll never accomplish anything. So I'm not in favor of this.
I really feel I need to state something. It's not that it didn't.
So hold on, Karen.
Oh, he was done. Okay.
No,
So
he was done, but I was hoping that every member of the board would have a chance to weigh in one way or another, and I reserve that right for myself as well. I am very split on this. I haven't decided if I'm in favor or not. The bylaws need amending, and we need to come up with a path that allows us to get those things fixed, even if it's just the typos. And so I'm concerned that it's a bigger task than we're currently able to take on. So I'm not sure that I'm in favor of this, just because of the amount of time it's going to take to get the basics fixed. So I'm reserving my opinion. So we can go around again. Karen, you're in favor of this.
I'm in favor of this, but I also really am requesting that we come together and unify as a board. I am not mad because it didn't go my way. That's not the way that I operate. What I have a problem with is the way that it was handled and the way we were just completely shot down and was not able to complete our conversations about the things that we wanted. So with that said, to me, they're not finished. And as much as your board feels they are finished, my board doesn't feel that they're finished. So we're at an impasse here. How are we going to be able to move forward?
And the second time around, anyone want to speak?
And maybe it is time for a joint meeting.
Anyone want to speak against? Anyone else want to speak for the motion? Okay, hearing no further discussions. Pat, would you read the motion to us?
Sure. The motion was to have NOCFA, North Oakland County Port Authority Board, readdress the Articles of Incorporation. Is that correct?
Okay.
Does that sound correct?
Sounds
Yes.
correct. Can you do a roll call, please?
Yes, Winchester,
Yes.
Scheib Snyder,
No.
Gamka,
No.
Stauffer,
I abstain.
so 2 to
So
1.
the motion does not pass. I would, at this point, before moving off of this piece of business, I would be open to entertain. Yes, Ms. Winchester?
How can you abstain? Do you abstain as the chair, or what are you, how are you abstaining?
Since we're a small group, the chair votes, the chair states his intentions. Typically, if a group is bigger than about a dozen, then the chair takes a neutral role.
Okay.
In this particular case, as the member at large, I'm taking a neutral role just because I choose to, not because I'm the chair.
Well, I don't think that that's the right process. You as the chair can take that role. Like, is it the supervisor is usually doesn't have to vote? They can break the vote at the end. They don't have to vote. So you as a citizen at large would have to vote unless you have a financial interest and the board allows you to abstain. So I guess I'm needing to know. So I would like that to be added to our discussion on the agenda stuff as well. Maybe
Okay.
we need some board policies and procedures, because I don't agree with what you just did unless you're doing it as the chair.
I'm not doing it as a chair.
Right, and you're not, right, because you're not breaking a tie. So I don't think that you have the right to abstain. And I believe that's in Robert's Rules of Order as well.
Yeah, I don't believe that's a correct interpretation. You can vote for, you can vote against, or you could not vote. An abstention is not a vote. It's choosing not to vote.
I don't think, yeah, well,
So-
okay. So these are all new things that we're gonna have to deal with, obviously, so.
So So a great learning opportunity. So if you disagree with the decision of the chair, I just made a decision, you can say point of order and ask the board to take a majority vote on whether I can do what I just did. And you can overrule me. That's absolutely allowed and encouraged.
Well, I don't see the point. I don't agree with what you just did, and I would like that to be part of the agenda when we talk about redoing the agenda and how your new procedures. I would like these all spelled out.
I would entertain a motion at this point, an alternate motion, if anyone's interested in rewording the motion or doing something different before we move on to the next order of business. Chief, as I'm reading the bylaws, you are allowed to make motions. Now, that may be incorrect, and we can have further clarifications on that, but I am very much in favor of, except for the vote, which is not allowed in the bylaws, it appears that you are a member of this board, and I would welcome your input on motions, on seconds, on discussions. So I'm not asking you to do that right now, but I'm just trying to clarify where I stand on that. Okay, moving on to the next piece of business. We have the fire chief's performance review. Now, historically, when we've done this, the reviews were turned in at the meeting to the chair and tallied up. I put out a request last night to get electronic copies of those from everybody, and I got no response from anybody. So I'm kind of
Sent
curious
mine.
as to, I didn't get yours, Karen.
Yeah,
Did
it
you
was
get mine?
today.
Oh, was it?
Mhm.
I sent mine today too. But
Okay.
I sent mine in, Pete.
Oh,
So I've got 3 of them that I haven't found. That's entirely possible.
okay. I sent mine a few hours ago.
I've got Diane's, I have Paul's, and I have Karen's, and I obviously have mine. I do not have George's.
And George isn't present.
What's that?
And George isn't present.
And George isn't present. How I need some advice here, how we proceed.
You subtract George's, you take it out of the equation.
Yeah.
You just,
Whatever he would have submitted, you don't use as part of the equation.
okay. Do you want me to add those up right now?
Are you asking me?
Mhm.
I'm asking for opinions. I
Yes.
don't know what our policy has been and how we do this in the past.
Yes,
Yes, I would like you to do that.
same
Add them
here.
up, what you have.
Okay, one down. Just to make it interesting, some of these are coming in upside down. So I got to read upside down, but 1s and 0s stay upright.
Can you tell us each one, the 4, what, if it was 10 or 11, and then tell us the score?
I will do that here momentarily. Let me get through. I've got 2 more to do.
Thanks, Cal. I'll do those then.
It's, if I'm doing this right, it's 11 per is the straight up 1, 2.
We're okay, I'm not behind.
Yeah. So it's, so the way I've tallied this, give it a percentage too. So the tally results, do I go through person by person or just give you the totals?
You can start with a total and then go through person by person if you want. I guess.
Um,
I don't know if there's any rules.
I don't know. I don't have enough history to know how you did this in the past. Do you want the individual person's numbers?
Yeah.
Okay, so George, I have no numbers for. It's not going to count against the against the total because I have no input. Karen had 11 out of 11. Paul had 8 out of 11. Diane had 6 out of 11. And Pete had 9 out of 11. My quick math tells me that that's 34 out of a possible 44. Giving us a percentage of 77.3%. Any questions about that? I will package all of those up and distribute them to the board, and I'll distribute a copy to you, Pat.
I'm not sure I need them, but
That you don't include them?
they
I
haven't.
don't know how public.
They haven't been in the past, I don't believe.
Okay. Okay. I believe under the terms that were stated on that, that does not trigger the merit raise for the year, unless I've done something terribly wrong, and you guys can check my my math. I think that's the correct number.
I would like to get some feedback for the chief as to why those numbers came in at that level. I did mine at 11. Usually mine is between 9 and 10, but I think that he met his goal for the what do you call it? The taxing authority. He gave himself a 0. I gave him a 1 for that because he put a lot of effort into that. It was just shot down by the board. So I don't think that we should have penalized him for that. But I feel that this is probably the first time, am I not right, Jeremy, that this has happened? I think that he deserves to have reasoning from his bosses as to why this has transpired.
Right, and it looks like you have all put some notes in as to why you've given the numbers that you have. So I believe that will be covered. I don't know if that's adequate enough for you, Karen, but there is some whys in there.
I guess I would ask the chief, since it's his review. This is his performance review.
I think I have the right to know why I was given a 50% by Diane.
Sure. I can go over that with you. And to continue to improve employee turnover rates and retain highly skilled personnel. That's an agenda item. And you indicate in this letter to us about the agenda item that we had actually a terrible year. So I don't believe it has been met. Work with the board and the residents to become a taxing authority. I gave that a 0 as well. Communication with board. I believe some of your communication is very inappropriate. Professional relationships. You have public officials on there. I'm not happy with the treatment in some of the public officials. Personal readiness. We have an ALS department. You say on there that you got your, you did your EMS license. Again, I know that when you were originally hired that you were asked to become a paramedic. And I don't know how long you've been chief, but that was never accomplished. So
I'm
those are
sorry,
the-
may I address that?
Sure. No problem.
You marked me down because I don't have a paramedic license.
I believe when you were hired as chief, you were asked to become a paramedic within a certain amount of time.
That is not true.
Okay. Well, I believe that as an ALS department, that's something you should put into your goals.
Okay, how many years have you been doing this presentation or this evaluation form for me?
I don't know.
At least 6, 8, as long as you've been on the board.
Okay.
You've never marked me down for that in the past ones.
Okay. I did this year.
I have no other comments to make.
Do you want to ask anybody else why they voted the way they did, or just me?
Well, you were the one that gave me a 6 out of 11, so.
Okay. That's the reason why.
You-
And I also did, I also wrote when you said you, objective goals, the work with the board and the residents to become a taxing authority. I also wrote, I'm not interested in revisiting this subject. That's also on my evaluation appraisal.
Do you have any other questions, chief, of anybody else?
I do not.
Okay. I did find it interesting that you gave yourself a 0 on the taxing authority. And so I just followed your lead on that, where I actually see where, you know, your point, Karen, makes some sense of he did everything he could and the board voted it down. So I don't, I did some quick math. Even if I changed that vote, it wouldn't change the result of breaking the 80%. So I'm not willing to make that change. I just find it interesting. Any other action needed on the chief's review?
I'm very disappointed. I think he's done a fine job and deserves a merit increase. It's unfortunate.
Are we positive as a board that it was appropriate to just discard George's input?
That's
We've
how
done
we've
it.
done it.
You've done it in the past.
Yes.
Yep.
So I would direct some of your disappointment, Karen, to Mr. Cullis.
I agree with that too. And maybe we should talk about the way that we do this too and make policies and procedures on whether we do. I think it should be a full board personally that, you know, even if you're not here, that he should have, you know, at least got that to us, because I don't think you have the will of the whole board. And he deserves a whole board.
That was something we changed back when we had an official on that we weren't happy with how they did the tally. So now we're going to change it back for somebody who's not present. That doesn't make any sense.
No, she's just suggesting right now, Diane. So I appreciate the input. We're
Just a comment.
if you would like to at this point make a motion about revising or reviewing or starting a process for doing that, Karen, I'm more than open. I consider at this point the chief's review to be complete. I'm trying like heck to follow the rules that we have established, and if the rules are that the board member who's not here doesn't count, that's what we're doing going forward.
But nothing's in writing, so, you know, this is just, nothing's in writing, and I think at this point, in the way that this board is operating, we need to have this stuff in writing so that we can move forward in a fair way.
I would agree 100%.
All right, well, that's how I feel, and
Okay, and what are we going to do about it?
we are going to, I will make a motion. Well, see, it's not on the agenda, so I would ask that board policies and procedures be a part of future agenda, that we create them.
Are you but would you like to add how we review the chief as part of that as well?
Absolutely.
I'll make sure that gets on the agenda for the next meeting. I do have a question for the entire board that I'm just trying to come to terms with. I know it's come up and you just brought it up again, Karen, that we can't add agenda items. And in the past, I've been told you can't because of the Open Meetings Act and various things like that. And I, believe it or not, just for fun, I have read the Open Meeting Act law. I have read the Open Meeting Act handbook that Dan and Esser puts out, and I can't find any reference that actually says that. As a matter of fact, the opposite is stated, that says that no agenda has to even be put out as part of the Open Meeting Act requirement. And so I'm really trying to find the source of where that comes from so that we can follow the proper law, not just whatever our kind of organic knowledge is. So we're doing it properly. Can someone give me some guidance?
I think that we can add stuff to the agenda. It's at the beginning, you set the agenda, but if we go off and start talking and making motions about things that are not on the agenda, I don't think we followed the proper procedure.
Oh, okay. So
and then and so the agenda is also like what you're putting out to the public. You've published what discussions you're going to have, and if you add things. I mean, I always try not to add things because then the public may have wanted to participate on things that we have added. So, but I mean, in the middle of the agenda, if it's not on there, I wouldn't think that we should be adding stuff or making motions outside of what's on the agenda.
okay, but just for clarity, so you're saying that, and I appreciate that because it's probably the right thing to do to keep the public involved. But are you saying it from a legal standpoint or from a just doing what's right standpoint?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's just the way that Holly Township's done it in the past. So I don't have that answer just because it's just been procedure. Okay. And I don't remember where it came from.
Okay, I'm going to.
We can address that when we talk about all this.
Okay. I'm actually going to approach the NOCFA lawyer, Mr. Lack, and get some clarification on that, because I think the ability to add agenda items and actually work through this, there are Robert's Rules of Orders that allow us right now to add a new motion in here that's not related to something else. It's esoteric, but there is a way to do it. I want some clarification so that we can be as effective as we can be. So we will move on.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, please.
You, as part of our board, are welcome to call the Michigan Township Association, and they have an attorney there, and you can ask these questions. You can do that on behalf of Rose Township. I belong to that ever since I can remember. So you're always welcome to call them.
That's great. Can you pass on some contact information so I can do that?
Absolutely. Yep.
Thank you for that. New business, department recruiting and retention discussion. Chief, I know you put out a letter with some data about a variety of things. Chief? Do you want to read that letter into the public record? Do you want to just have a discussion on it?
Do you want me to read it, or do you want me to?
I would absolutely love it if you read it.
Okay.
I think that it's a very important issue that you've brought up, and we need to have a serious conversation about it.
Sorry about that. Okay. So included in your packet was a letter that I wrote to the board, just going over the issues that we're facing with the recruitment and retention process in the fire service in general. The letter reads, "Dear NOCFA Board of Directors, As we have discussed before, the paid on-call fire departments continue to face a recruitment and retention problem. We've been noticing this trend for the past 15 years or so. Two main reasons for low recruitment and high employee turnover rates are time commitment and wages. The fire service has changed dramatically over the past 20 years, especially for smaller departments such as ours. In the 1990s, this department ran an average of 200 calls per year and had very few EMS calls due to private ambulance companies in the area. The only thing required to be a firefighter at the time was a certificate from a 4-month fire academy class and a 3-week medical first responder class. Continuing training was still required, but was nothing compared to what it is today. With today's increased training requirements, maintaining NFPA, OSHA, ISO, risk management standards are just a few of the ever expanding responsibilities placed on the departments and personnel. Today, an individual has to go through over 18 months of training just to acquire their basic certificates and licenses to be an employee. Once on the department, continuing education for employees requires an average of 16 hours per month in fire rescue training and 4 hours per month for EMS training. Couple that with our run growth, which requires increased participation levels, and it's easy to understand how this paid on call job becomes a career job that many people cannot keep up with or commit to. From a wages aspect, there is no way to gain highly skilled personnel who are expected to perform the dangerous and emotionally straining work that this job requires at the wages that the paid on call environment currently pays. We also continue to lose our most highly skilled people to large career departments. Once they get hired onto these departments, their employment contracts do not allow them to keep working for our fire agency. Even career departments are struggling to find good recruits. Years ago, almost all career departments offered a retirement benefit package, which included a defined benefit plan, and a retirement health care plan. Having these types of benefits attracted employees and made it worthwhile for them to perform the job and work for the low wages in the unusual hours that the firefighters work. Since the downfall of these types of benefits, career departments are having trouble finding good applicants to hire. As a result of this, there are many departments that are transitioning back to more attractive benefit and retirement plans. Several years ago, our department attempted to try and combat the recruitment and retention problem. We raised wages, started a 401 retirement plan for paid on-call employees. In an effort to increase our pool of applicants, we went outside of the service area and hired on people that live out of district. The upside of this is we are able to more easily fill our part-time shifts with these people. The downside is that we cannot utilize them for department-wide response because they do not live near our service area. We were fortunate enough to be awarded a grant back in 2016, which allowed us to hire Captain Seal as a full-time employee, with one of his responsibilities focusing on recruitment and retention. Captain Seal works tirelessly developing the training programs, hosting fire academies every year, and putting on recruitment events at the high school. As a department, we have made more available time to train employees. We have streamlined operational readiness methods to make it easier and more efficient for our paid on-call employees to have access to training and be able to more easily perform their responsibilities within the stations. After all of these continued improvements at retaining paid on-call employees, we are still not gaining any headway. Attached with the letter are 2 reports, which came from our payroll software. And the reports showing employee turnover rates for the North Oakland County Fire Authority. The first report that you have shows the turnover rate for the past 12 months. The report indicates that from January of 2020 to February of 2021, we hired 10 people and lost 12. The second report shows turnover rates for the past 3 years combined. The results of this report shows we hired a total of 23 people but lost 21. According to the U.S. Bureau of Statistics, the average turnover rate for the business industry is about 12%. A bad turnover rate is considered to be 15%. We are currently at 40%. The vast majority of our employees resign, mostly due to not having the time to commit to training and run responses. As of the date of this letter, we have 46 employees rostered. 8 of our employees are full-time, leaving 38 paid on-call employees. 6 of those employees are not active due to being off on various types of work leave, which leaves 32 employees. 12 of those 32 employees are out of district and are only utilized to fill shifts a few times a week. After subtracting all of those numbers, we end up with a total of 20 active in-district paid on-call employees. This is a losing battle, and we need to find a solution to the problem. I believe it's going to be consist of a combination of hiring more full-time employees, increasing wages, coming up with more attractive benefits and incentives for both paid on-call and full-time personnel.
Thank you for that. Are there any questions or comments about that? And
Yeah, Jeremy, what are we paying our people right now, paid on call?
Anywhere from $18 to $22 per hour, depending on certifications, fire engineer levels, medical licensure levels.
Okay. You know, and this has been an ongoing problem since I've been on the board. I mean, when I first came in 2012, I think we were paying $8, $10, $12, and it's certainly we've raised wages. I guess everyone has too. I guess from my point of view is what I would like to see from you is what it would take, what you feel it would take to hire someone full-time with benefits. If you could give me an analysis to me, I would just like to look at what you think that we have to, because it seems to me, this is my opinion only, is that in thinking about this, no matter what we do, we can never compete with the big fire districts, whether West Bloomfield or Oxford or whatever is out there, Waterford, because those folks will always have more money, more benefits than we do. And, you know, our district is much more modest when you compare it to these other people. So as a starting point, I would like to know what you feel that we would need in terms of whether full-time and part-time, break it down in terms of as what you think that we would need to go ahead and to attract people, or at least some people, because we're not going to get them all.
I did plan on putting together some ideas for future meetings. I have sent out surveys to 13 other fire departments in basically every fire department north of M59 in the county, just to get some feedback and compare notes and see where they're sitting at with data, wages, numbers, all of that. We do have some smaller type ideas for incentives, if you will. We are currently, myself and Captain Seal are working on SAFER grants for this year. The SAFER grants are the grants that we get for either hiring full-time people for, supporting that first, the first 3 years. The recruitment grant is, again, what we had gotten before, where we can come up with incentives and benefits that the grant will pay for. So we do have some ideas. We're going to try and maybe repeat some of the ideas we used in the past, but bring them up to date. But I guess this was just a first shout at the board that we're still in this losing battle with this situation, and we need to fix it because it's just we're going backwards, unfortunately. So yes, I do plan on bringing some information, some data, some number crunching to the boards for some options.
Where are the people when the people leave? Where do they go? I mean, are they going down to Springfield, or are they going over to Oxford or Waterford, or are they going north of or maybe into Genesee County or someplace? Do you have any idea where they? I would assume they're going to the bigger fire departments, just because of the if they're going for benefits or money or something like this.
Yeah, if you're referring to our people that we lose to career departments, yes, they're going, well, they're not necessarily going, like the last person that we just lost last month, he's been on the department for 5 or 6 years. He went to Oxford. Oxford Fire Department, which is relatively similar to ours, has a lot of full-time people. I believe his starting wage was in the 70s, 73,000 or something like that. And again,
So how, I don't know how we can, I don't know how, I mean, at $21 an hour, that's about $44,000 a year if I look at it. And I don't know how we're ever going to be able to compete with someone that's paying 70, 80,000. Is that just W-2 wages without benefits?
well, there's two different wages for two different positions that you're speaking of. The amounts I gave you for paid on call, the $18 to $22. Those are paid on call wages. Full-time wages, our full-time firefighter, paramedics that we have are making right around 48 to 50,000.
Okay. But that's still a far cry from 70 or 80, which the other ones, I don't know how, on an ongoing basis. I mean, we can raise it up, but as time goes on, those folks that if they need somebody at Waterford or West Bloomfield, they'll just raise up their wages because they have the ability to do that because they come from much wealthier districts. I just assume if you could get something together in the future, it would be interesting to look at. Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments? Steve, I kind of question, last year we gave a fairly substantial raise to this paid on call group. And it sounded like partway through the year, you were very hopeful that it had turned the tide and things were going in the right direction. Did that change, or did I misread that?
We gave a raise for what we call the part-time duty shifts, and that's the hourly wage that the paid on call or part-time person comes and works a 12 or 24-hour shift, a few times a month.
Also, we didn't raise the paid on call portion.
We did not. No, that was strictly one of the options that I have noted to bring to the board's attention, maybe at the next meeting, is to stop having all these different types of wages and focus on one wage, whether it be $20 or $22. That's what that person gets when they come to a paid on call, when they respond to a call from home, or when they come to training for 2 hours, or when they're working a duty shift. Instead of having these all these different broken out wages for different types of jobs that they perform here, is just having one wage, because in all fairness, they're pretty much doing the same job, whether they're working a part-time shift or showing up to an all call. So that's another option that I, like I said, have noted to look at what that would cost.
Okay, so are you going to bring some further information to our next meeting so we can have?
I am. We
make a motion
again, this was just the, hey, I want to bring this to your attention phase. It was the end of the year, so I had the chance to run numbers in a calendar year, if you will, and get some data points to at least notice the situation that's going on with this, and that we are not making any headway in it.
Okay. It looks like Mr. Cullis has joined us.
Well, I thought I had joined you, and then my computer shut down and went into restart mode.
Okay. Is there any other discussion, questions about the retention? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item C, supplemental insurance, approval for optional employee payroll deduction. Who submitted this? Is this you, Chief?
Yeah, this was just, again, another one of those little incentives, if you will, that we wanted to give the option for our employees to have. It's not going to cost the department anything. It's an AFLAC plan, which is I don't know what the term of it is, an optional insurance coverage that the employees can pay for. Really, I don't know that we need a motion to approve it, rather than I just wanted to let the board know, because it's not going to affect us budgetarily speaking. It's just kind of another avenue option for employees if they want to apply for this and be part of it, that they can.
And they can get cancer insurance.
Yeah, they can,
with
it's a lot of
extended
different
medical or
alternative,
hospitalization.
alternative insurances.
So I'm curious, how have we dealt with adding benefits like this in the past? Have these always had board approvals before we approve them?
These are not benefits from NOCFA. They're employee benefits. It's a program that allows the employee to get payroll deductions for these options through AFLAC.
Right, but the fact that Chief is bringing it up, it will be sponsored, or it'll be co-branded, it'll be something to do with NOCFA. We're going to put it on our menu. So do we have to approve it? I mean, you were asking the same question, Chief.
I think we
Yeah,
How do we do this?
I guess it wouldn't hurt to do
Yeah.
it, to approve it.
I think we should, because I think you have to sign something as the administrator.
Let me ask another question. The times that I personally looked at an AFLAC, it's relatively expensive in the grand scheme of things. Do we think that the firefighters would be interested in that additional expense and that coverage?
We years ago had a company called Combined, which is a similar outfit, come in. In fact, I'm still signed up with that. So, and we had quite a few people that applied for that at that time. I don't know how many are still left. I know I continue to stay in it. So this was just another opportunity, another option if they wanted to. It's totally up to them. We're just gonna, again, put it on our menu, as you said, as, hey, if you want this, here it is, here's the prices. We don't contribute anything to it, but you can have it deducted out of your paycheck if you want to take advantage of it.
And what are the payments like? Just kind of
They
ballpark.
have different options, depending on, what you want to cover yourself for. Like Karen said, they've got cancer, they've got critical care protection, they got your basic accident options, and they range anywhere from starting at $6 or $7. I'm assuming these are a month, to adding $2 or $3 if you want this plan. If you want, it's basically
So relatively inexpensive. I mean, it sounds much less expensive than I remember.
I mean, it looks like if somebody loads up with everything they offer, they may be in the $20 to $25 a month type range.
Are we allowed, Chief, as a organization, to pay that fee for the employees?
I believe when we sat down with the representative, that is not an option, that has to be a payroll deduction.
It's true.
Okay. Okay, I'd be more than happy to entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion to approve AFLAC for the NOCFA employees that choose to participate.
Through payroll deduction.
Through payroll deduction.
So second, support.
A motion from Karen, support from George. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, can we take a roll call, Pat?
Yes. Winchester,
Yes.
Cullis,
Yes.
Gamka,
Yes.
Scheib Snyder,
Yes.
Stauffer,
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Is there any further, go ahead, Karen.
Oh, not on this subject.
Oh, just if there's anything else that we wanted to do there, the reason I was asking about can we pay for it, it sounds like something that maybe we ought to be paying for, but if we can't, then I don't know what we would do.
Yeah, that's not a program. That's not the type of program it is.
Okay.
We could get some of those kind of benefits if you're interested through probably, I don't know if MERS does it, but there's other companies we could, think about doing other benefits for, but that Aflac is strictly employee only.
Okay.
Mhm.
Chief, as part of your retention discussion, can you look at some of these other types of benefits like this, especially if they're so reasonably costed?
Yeah, that was another item I was going to look into, just, minimal cost type things like that, may just help to add to incentives.
Yep.
Oh, that's okay.
Thank you.
It looks like mine.
Supplemental insurance. We have item D that we've added to the agenda, which is an employee issue. I have a opinion letter from Mr. Laddie, the NOCFA lawyer, that the issue meets the requirement of going to a closed session. I have a copy of that opinion. It's a private opinion that I'll share with the board if you want to see it. I would like to move to go to closed session to discuss this issue. Yep.
Can we finish the rest of the agenda before we do something like that? But I think,
Did I miss something? I'm sorry.
well, George is here now. I'd like us to allow him to enter his chief's performance review for inclusion.
I'm not going to allow that.
Why? He's here in attendance.
But that item is closed. We've moved on from that item. So this would be one of those times, Karen, when you can ask for a majority vote as to whether you should override the chair.
All right, I would ask that. I would make a motion to
So point of order.
Point of order.
I would like to appeal the decision of the chair.
I would like to appeal the decision of the chair, since there is nothing in writing with regards to the chief's performance review. Supervisor Cullis is now part of this, and that should be reopened for him to submit the chief's review.
Thank you for that.
He is in attendance.
Thank you for that. Is there a second?
Am I allowed to support that?
You are allowed to support that. You are here.
Okay, support.
Is there, I'm not sure if this is even debatable. Is there any commentary? Discussion, Paul?
It's terribly unfair if you guys don't allow this, especially because there's no written policies on it.
Is Paul on the meeting?
Paul is on.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay, I just didn't see him.
I have no other comments. I'm waiting for the vote.
Okay. So
I'm just on
my
phone.
only my only commentary is I went out of my way to be exceptionally clear as to what the rule was. All rules aren't written, and we had overall agreement. I was attempting at the time to not even take the vote. And yet we all agreed as a body that that's what we should do. So that's the chair's position. If there's no other commentary, let's take a vote to appeal the decision of the chair.
Roll call.
Please.
Winchester,
Yes.
Cullis,
Yes,
Scheibsnyder,
Yeah.
Gamka,
Yes.
Stauffer,
No. Okay. So we will include George's input. George, have you sent that to me?
I'm sorry.
Have you sent me your evaluation for the chief?
I have not.
Okay, that could make it difficult to include your input into this.
You have your
Um,
score. Does
Are
it-
we willing at this point to take George's verbal count?
I am. And then he can
I
submit
hear-
it.
I hear no opposition to that. So, Mr. Cullis, out of the 11 met or not met, how many did you have meet?
I actually had 11. The second one was a goal for the taxing authority. And because this board chose to shut him down, I don't know how we can hold him responsible for not meeting that goal. So I gave him credit for that one as well.
So by my new count with George's 11, we now have 45 out of 55 Mets, giving us a total of 81.8%. Meeting the requirement for, I believe, meeting the requirement for the 3% merit raise for the chief. Am I correct in my interpretation?
Yes.
Everyone agree with those numbers?
Yeah, I do. I just ran them up on my adding machine.
Thank you. I figured you would do that. George, if you could get me a copy of that review, well, how about you email it to me?
I know, but I was just letting you know it's right here.
Okay, no, we believe you. We believe you. I will collate all those and distribute them back out. That'll give us our opportunity to verify this. Congratulations, Chief, on your race. Is there any other business, Karen, that you feel that we should potentially review?
You might want to take public comment before, so that if people don't want to sit and wait for our closed session, they can leave. Of course, we have to come back into session, but at least it gives people the opportunity to make public comment before we spend a considerable amount of time potentially in closed session.
I think that's an excellent suggestion. If I hear no objection, does anyone have an objection to doing the public comment at this point? Hearing no objections, I open the floor to public comment. I would ask that anyone who speaks introduces themselves with their name and their address, and limit their comments to 3 minutes. There's a bunch of people out there that are muted. If you're trying to say something, make sure you're unmuted.
Through the chair.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Chairman. It's Captain Seal, North Oakland County Fire Authority, Holly Township President. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm not doing too bad. Two things I wanted to comment on. One thing, if it's the pleasure of the board, one of the things I think that would be a great asset to maybe the employees might be a short-term disability plan. That seems a very tough thing that employees deal with, working two different jobs, and it's a huge asset to an employee. And I want to thank you on the AFLAC. I just wanted to give you a demonstration for my purposes on the AFLAC. I had a $25 a month supplemental dental plan when I was in Redford Township, and it covered all my costs above my plan coverage amounts. So that was huge for me. And I believe, if I'm correct, by board action, we are allowed to take that money out pre-taxed at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's correct.
So I thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you for that input. Is there any other public comment?
Yes, Linda Dagenhart, 9125 Clinton Street. I just wanted to be clear. The firemen are paid for their training sessions, is that correct?
You broke up there. Can you say that again, Linda?
I'm sorry, I said the firemen are paid for their training. Is that right?
Chief, do you care to answer that?
No, yes, they are paid. They are paid a stipend of per training of $25 currently.
All right, just wanted to be clear. Thank you.
And they're also on the payroll during training, are they not?
Well, no, I mean, if they happen to be working the shift that the training is on, yes.
Okay.
But otherwise, no, anybody that's not working that shows up to training, it's a $25 stipend for the normal training is 2 hours. When we start going into like longer type trainings, we go to $50. But mostly it's the 2-hour training once a week.
Would it make any difference if they were paid per hour of their training at their normal rate?
That is one of the ideas that I plan on showing the board.
Oh, good, good.
Thank you, Linda. Great input. Anything else? Okay. Does anyone else have a public comment? Okay, hearing none. I ask that we adjourn. I'm sorry, not adjourn, that we recess and join the closed Zoom meeting. Yes, Karen?
We need to make a motion to go into closed session and the support, and then we leave.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Chief?
Before we do that, could you, Mr. Stauffer, email that link? I got it in my calendar, but it's not popping. It won't pop up on my calendar on my computer, only on my phone. And
Okay, I will email it out right now. So for those of you that for whatever reason it hasn't come through properly, there's another Zoom meeting that I've set up in case we had to go to or an approved a closed meeting. I will send out that link right now. I believe that I stated that I wanted to have a motion to go into a closed session, and I'm still waiting for a second on that. Right?
Mr. Chair, I believe that you have to state the reason you're going into the closed session as well into your motion. So if you could make a motion to go into a closed session, and also state the time.
Yeah, so and of course I can't come up with Mr. Leddy's letter at this point. So I move that we move into a closed session to discuss a personnel issue that is per an opinion of our attorney falls under Section C, attorney-client communications, Section 13D of the Open Meetings Act, MCL 15.243, and allows us to go into a closed session to discuss a personnel issue. And it is 4:28.
I'll support.
Can I have a roll call, Pat?
Sure. Stauffer,
Yes.
Scheib Snyder,
Yes.
Gamka,
Yes.
Cullis,
Yes.
Winchester.
Yes.
Okay.
So now,
That we will recess from this meeting, the 6 of us plus Pat. And the way the minutes work is, Pat, you actually join this meeting, you take minutes, those stay private.
no, nobody's supposed to be a part of that. So the secretary, being me, of the fire board would do the closed session minutes unless the board
Okay,
all votes for any participants besides the board to be
Okay.
present.
I will take that. I was under the impression that Pat would do that. Maybe
No.
I was reading secretary as recording secretary. Okay.
Through the
So
chair, sir, through the chair,
what's that?
through the chair. Do you want the meeting paused and recording right now for this meeting, or do you just want to continue to record till you come back?
Your choice of what you want to do. It would make sense probably to pause it.
Pause.
We're going away. Maybe make sure you don't pause it until we actually each have logged out.
Very good, sir, will do.
Okay. And so I still owe you, I'm going to zap an email to all of you right now with that link. It's a Zoom link and we'll just go back into that meeting instead.
I was going to say, the one that you sent us doesn't allow you to click on it.
I'm resending now.
Yeah, I don't have any. Did you send it to the treasurer at Rose Township?
I sent it to Paul at Rose Township.
Yeah, well, it's treasurer@rosetownship.com.
Mr. Stauffer, would
Maybe
you
it might.
I had the invite from Peter, just not a connection.
Wasn't it in the body?
Let me go to mine.
Once you hit accepted, it tells you the location, but there's no link.
Okay. Resending now. Oh, the joys of virtual meetings.
Mr.
Oh,
Stauffer, would you like to do that immediately or set a time, like a 5-minute recess to come back, or?
I love that suggestion. So let me have the time to send this out and we will start the Zoom meeting. So we'll be recessing until, let's call it 10 till 5. I am sorry, 20 to 5. So 4:40, we'll start the closed session. Is that acceptable to everybody?
Mhm.
Yep.
Now, if this doesn't come across as a link, everybody, you have to select the HTTPS line there and paste it into your browser.
Yeah,
I can control.
it just looks different. Your invite looks just a little different than normal. It's just that HTTP link right up there.
And if it requires, I ask it not to require a passcode, but it references a passcode here. It's at the very bottom of this email.
I have not gotten an email yet.
I haven't hit send yet.
Yeah, I haven't either.
sorry.
I haven't either, Peter.
I thought you said I just sent it.
There, I've just sent it. Okay, I'll see you in approximately 6 minutes.
Yeah, this one has a link.
Oh. Okay, I got it now.
Yeah, sure. I make a motion that we contact the attorney.
No.
Nope.
Nope.
Got a
Oh,
motion,
I make a motion that we enter, close, that we close session and go back to the open meeting.
support.
Roll call, Pat?
Ellis,
Yep.
Winchester,
Yes.
Gamka,
Yes.
Shive Snyder,
Yes.
Stouffer,
Yes.
motion carries.
Time is 5:15.
Thank you for that. Is there any, just from a keeping everything in order here, is there anything else we have to do as a portion of that?
Yeah, I'm going to make a motion.
You do want to make a motion?
I do. I want to make a motion that we will set up a meeting with the NOCFA attorney to go into a closed session as soon as possible to discuss this HR issue.
Is there support?
I'll support.
Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Pat, would you take a roll call, please?
Shive Snyder,
Yes.
Gamka,
Yes.
Cullis,
No.
Winchester,
No.
Stouffer,
Yes.
motion carries 3-2.
The motion carries.
And
Karen, please.
I will set
move
that up.
forward with
Yep.
it. Thank you.
Is there better times? Is 3 good for everybody? And is there any particular days that are not good so that I can exclude those right up front?
I'm assuming it's going to be a virtual meeting. We still can't meet, right?
Right.
Okay, so any time is good for me.
I'll email dates that I'm available. I have to look at my calendar. I can't just pull it out of my head.
Well, how about if I just wait then and see what the attorney has? I was just
That would
hoping
be
to say,
better.
like, if you definitely had dates that you knew were bad.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Okay, is there any other new business? Okay, hearing none. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support?
Or
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. You made my first meeting as chairman quite challenging. I appreciate it.
I think you did a good job.
did you
Thanks,
wanna
Paul.
get off- you were expecting